What's up, everybody? As you know, if you're into Bitcoin, Bitcoin's price has crashed big time, and it's a gift to me. I absolutely love it. I looked at my phone, and it just was down like 9 or 10%. And let me tell you, these past few days, you saw my video talking about working like a slave. I have definitely, definitely been working like a slave to get as much Bitcoin as I can, or Satoshis as I can. And I picked up a lot in one of my cold storages. You can see a chart of how much Bitcoin or Satoshis you bought, and I'm at an all-time high for a month of how much Bitcoin I have bought on this particular cold storage unit. And it's not even, it's only the 21st today, and I've been going crazy. And also too, silver was down too for a while. Silver's up today, like 55 cents today as of this recording. But I wanted to react to a video that I saw from my favorite Bitcoin-based channel from Bitcoin University. He asked in the video, should you put 100% into Bitcoin? Very fascinating video. I saw the I saw the title, and it's crazy because I've been thinking about it. I've been thinking about, man, should I put more into Bitcoin? Not 100%, obviously, because I'm always going to keep my my vintage not making any more silver. Like, they don't make these anymore. They don't make, Barber dimes or 64 and before silver. They don't make this stuff anymore, guys. So I'm not going to sell that. But the generic rounds and some of the things that I have, some of the investments that I have, even things laying around the house makes you think, man, should I just sell everything and put it into Bitcoin? And that's what he talks about in this video. So let's go ahead and jump on in to should you put 100% into Bitcoin by Bitcoin University.
This is Matthew Cratter from Bitcoin University, and today I wanted to talk about should you put 100% of your money into Bitcoin. This is not investment advice or tax advice or even psychological advice, but it's a question I get quite often. Should I put 10%, 50%, 80%, 100% of my net worth into Bitcoin? And when people ask me that, it always reminds me of a famous story about Mozart. A man came to Mozart and asked him how to write a symphony. Mozart replied, "You're too young to write a symphony." The man said, you were writing symphonies when you were 10 years of age, and I am 21. And Mozart replied to him, "Yes, but I didn't run around asking people how to do it."
I absolutely love that, man. I get questions, different questions. How much should I put into Bitcoin, and how much silver I should buy, and blah, blah, blah. And it's just like, dude, I'm not going to ruin it, but I love that story, man. I'll get into that a little bit more later.
That's an anecdote that I got from Charlie Munger many years ago, and you can probably understand the irony of me quoting it in a video to defend Bitcoin. I think Munger would not like that.
Yeah, he's referring to Charlie Munger and Warren Buffett. Those two are the biggest Bitcoin haters. And, all of us as investors, we all looked up to Charlie Munger and Warren Buffett. Of course we did. But now that I'm into Bitcoin, we're into Bitcoin. There's such haters on it because they're fiat kings. He calls them Charlie and Warren Buffett. So yeah, they don't like Bitcoin.
But I think it's a similar story where if you have to ask anyone whether you should have X percentage of your net worth in Bitcoin or in anything else, the answer is clearly no, you shouldn't. You need to wait until you've done enough research where you couldn't care less what other people think because you are so strong in your conviction. And it's not a conviction based on sand, but it's a conviction built on a foundation of stone because you've done your research. And you'll know you're ready to allocate significant amounts of your net worth, your savings into Bitcoin, when you're lying in bed every night worrying about why you still hold so much fiat money like US dollars, euros, yen, etc., why you still hold so much dead in the water, stocks, why you still hold so many treasuries, so many bonds that yield less than the true inflation rate, so you're losing purchasing power every year, why you still own shiny yellow rocks or shiny silver rocks.
Wait a minute, Mr. Cratter. These are not rocks, okay? I know what he means. And every time I hear him talk about silver, I just get, I don't have any gold or stocks, nor bonds, but I definitely have my vintage silver.
Also, why you might still own wooden structures with terrible tenants and property taxes and insurance costs and high maintenance costs where you always have to replace a leaky roof, there's always an overflowing toilet, and there's always a need for new carpet and new paint, etc. This is how rental properties, how real estate leaks economic energy and eats into your returns. Now, there's no shortcut to becoming a Bitcoin long-term investor or a hodler, you need to do your own homework and put in the time and research, and as we say in Bitcoin, proof of work, because asking other people how much Bitcoin they own tells you nothing really about how much Bitcoin you should own. You have a completely unique situation. You have different income, different savings, different risk tolerance. Everyone is different in this way, and people are at different stages in their lives as well. And the other question is whether you would even be able to handle that volatility once you are up to that certain allocation that you're proposing. Now, I was personally still loading up on Bitcoin. I began to buy it as a hodler in 2019. I was still loading up on it all the way to the top back in 2021. So I was still buying it even in the 40,000s, the 50,000s, and the 60,000s. I bought all the way up from the 2019 bottom to the 2021 peak. And then I kept buying all the way down back to below 16,000 back in last November. Over that period, I sold my gold stocks, I sold my rental houses, and I put the money into Bitcoin as I gained more and more conviction. I even sold a car and put the money into Bitcoin. In fact, I tried to liquidate every possible investment that I owned that was possible to liquidate and put into Bitcoin. And those of you who have invested in VC funds and venture capital funds know that it usually takes a decade or longer to get liquidity for some position. So unfortunately, I haven't been able to put that money into Bitcoin yet. But as soon as the liquidity comes, either from a sale or from an IPO, I look forward to moving that money as well into Bitcoin.
Yeah, my story is pretty much the same. Except I did it with silver and gold. I sold all my stocks, but I definitely have a lot of things that I sold to get silver and gold. I had a lot of cash on the side to buy silver and gold. But then once I got into Bitcoin, I realized I didn't need any gold. And if you don't know what I'm talking about, I made a video about that right here. You can check that out. And I have been liquidating my silver. I really have. I'm talking about my generic silver, and anything that's not nailed to the floor, I've been turning in cash and then putting it in the bank and turning it into Bitcoin. So yeah, I feel them on that one.
The other thing I did is I changed the name of my business and the channel, this YouTube channel, from Trader University to Bitcoin University, and in the process alienated literally thousands of subscribers, some of whom still send me mocking emails and keep asking me why I don't cover momentum stocks like I used to, why I just talk about Bitcoin.
Funny story, I ran into Trader University probably in 2018 or 19 or something like that. And he had some really good videos about real estate and stocks and stuff, all the stuff that I used to be into, and probably some of you guys may be still into. And I used to watch them. And then he would talk about Bitcoin, and I used to get pissed off at him. Like, why does he keep talking about Bitcoin? You know what I mean? Because he was just getting into it. First, he was trading it, and then he realized once he learned about it what it was. Now, I didn't know what it was in 2019. I had heard of it, of course, but I didn't really care. I skipped those videos. Another funny story is the day he changed his name to Bitcoin University is the same day I changed my channel to Jerry Loves Freedom. And this is the video that I talk about. I didn't even know he did it. It was crazy. So
I basically moved my entire life and business onto a Bitcoin standard. And this was not something that happened overnight, but really happened over a period of 3 or 4 years. Have I ever regretted it for a moment? Has the fiat price drawdown of the last 2 years ever stressed me out? No, it actually hasn't, but only because I made sure that my level of understanding of Bitcoin kept pace with its level in my portfolio.
I love that. His level of understanding matches his level in his portfolio. So the more comfortable you are with something, the more you'll get of it, and the more you're willing to invest in it. And that's what I'm doing with Bitcoin. The more and more I learn about it, the more and more I buy.
And if I hadn't put in so many hours into trying to understand Bitcoin and learning alongside all of you, I'm sure that I would have sold some or all of my Bitcoin in this brutal bear market, because it really has been a brutal bear market.
Yeah, he's absolutely right about that. When I first started buying it and learned about it was 2021, early 2021. And that's later on that year in 2021. It got up to 69,000. I started buying in the 40s, 50s, 60s, just like he did. And everybody when I was watching was saying it was going to 100, and it looked like it was. That's why I bought it. I was kind of FOMOing in, you know, I didn't want to miss anything. And then 2022 hit, and it was just crazy. All the stuff with the FTX and everything else, and a couple of other crypto stuff that had nothing to do with Bitcoin crashed it, and it went down to 15,000. But again, month after month, my conviction got stronger because I learned more, so I started buying more. I didn't care about it. And now in 2023, halfway through, of course it crashed down a little bit, but you know, this is the bull market. We're up like 70-something%. So I'm very glad I did that.
Conclusion: holding Bitcoin without understanding Bitcoin is a recipe for disaster. You'll never survive the FUD. You'll never survive the volatility. And that's why it's very, very important to do a lot of research and not rush into large allocations to Bitcoin. And this is why you can't ask other people how much of your money you should put in Bitcoin, because the answer will be different for everyone based on their life circumstances. I will leave you with a warning though, and I believe I got this from Bitcoin Tina, though I couldn't find it online. Invest only as much money in fiat as you're willing to lose. I like this phrasing because it really inverts the question of how much you're willing to lose in Bitcoin, because we do know that fiat itself is guaranteed to lose over longer periods of time. And the way you lose investing in fiat, like US dollars or euros or Australian dollars or Canadian dollars or yen, etc., you lose because of inflation, because the purchasing power of that money goes down. So it's almost like an inflation tax. You lose through bank failures at the end of the cycle, as we're seeing now. You lose through bank bail-ins as well. I want to remind you of what happened in Cyprus, in a very civilized first world country, where they basically confiscated billions of dollars as part of a bail-in. A bailout is where you get external money that bails out usually the shareholders of a bank and maybe some of the depositors. But in this case, what happened is the depositors' own deposits, the savers' own savings, were used to bail out the banking system. And as it says in the second paragraph here, depositors in 2 Cypriot banks lost billions when savings were confiscated to protect the island's banking system in 2013. Something like, if you had over 100,000 euros, they took something like 40 or 45% of it in the process, which is called a bail-in. And then when those people who had held those bank accounts at those banks tried to sue, the court basically ruled against them. The court concludes that the individuals and companies which initiated the actions have not succeeded in demonstrating an infringement of the right to property. In other words, these people did not have a right to their own money they were storing in the bank. So don't expect the courts to save you either in a situation like this. These are the dangers of investing in fiat. If you hold fiat, maybe you'll get lucky and your fiat will only lose 85% of its value over the next 50 years. That's basically what the US dollar did over the past 50 years. And the US dollar is actually really, if you think about it, it's got to be the most wildly successful fiat money in the history of the world. And it really pioneered fiat when Nixon took the US dollar off the gold standard for good in 1971. But the US dollar is as good as it gets, and this is what as good as it gets looks like, where it's fallen from purchasing power worth $6.39 in 1970 to purchasing power of just $1 for $1 in 2020. So it's even gone lower than this chart shows since 2020. But this is what fiat does.
Absolutely. That's why it's so hard for me to save in fiat cash. And I feel sorry for Americans, man, because we're so spoiled. We have no idea that our money is broken. We just think prices go up and that's just what it is and everything else. But they've been speeding it up these last 3 years since 2020. And even me, you know, I save in cash. I have, you know, different allocations to cash for certain things short term. The cash that I have are for short term, less than 5 years. You know what I mean? Because I know even in those 5 years or less than 5 years, it's going to lose purchasing power. I know that, but I have to have cash. Now, what I mean by less than 5 years, I'm talking about saving up for a big item or something like that. I don't save in silver because I don't plan on selling any of this stuff. Now, maybe some generic silver if I still have it, not turn into Bitcoin. But the cash that I have is stuff for the month, stuff for maybe a year. Like I said, maybe out to 5 years, not no longer than that, because it's burning both ends. You know what I mean? It's just absolutely insane. Do I think the dollar's going to crash? I don't know. But the best savings you can do is hard assets, hard money. But the best savings technology is Bitcoin, hands down.
Now, in your process of doing research, if you have questions about Bitcoin, I want to draw your attention to a way of using my channel. If you just go here to the search button on the home page here, and you can type in any keyword and it will give you a whole list of videos that I've made on that topic. So people always ask me, have you covered this? Have you covered that? Here's a way that you can verify and check for yourself. So for example, I did a search for quantum here, and you can scroll down and see 3 videos or more on quantum. So this is a good research to use as you're learning more and more about Bitcoin. Also, feel free to ask questions in the comments and propose topics for new videos.
Absolutely. I make these videos to educate you guys on something that's very, very important to freedom, you know. And the first thing I want you to do, I don't care what level you're at, because he talked about different levels and stuff like that, and he's absolutely right, is I want you to subscribe to Bitcoin University. That's the first thing. The second thing is, if you have no Bitcoin, you got to get off zero, ladies and gentlemen. You have to get off zero. And I'm going to make a video about that tomorrow, talking specifically about that with Luke Broyles. I'm going to break down a video he did. It's very, very important, ladies and gentlemen, that you buy some Bitcoin. There's a lot of silver and gold channels out here that you can watch, and I get it. And there's a lot of Bitcoin channels you can watch. And I know A lot of things are repetitive. I'm redundant, but the more and more I'm into this, the more and more I'm realizing that if I want freedom, not just in my country, of course, my family and my country first, but around the world, the way to do it is Bitcoin. As much as I love silver, and I love it, it's not going to give us freedom. These cryptocurrencies are not going to give us freedom. Fiat currency is not going to give us freedom. Central bank digital currencies is definitely not going to give us freedom.
This is the difference between Bitcoin and a central bank digital currency. Bitcoin is completely decentralized. There's no one founder or CEO which can program the money. With a central bank digital currency, it's basically a digital version of what we have now. There's nothing different to it. It's going to be entirely centralized in the control of the government and the central bank. So if for whatever reason you hold the incorrect opinion, they can just program the money and use it against you. So if you like the wrong thing on social media, your central bank digital currency will no longer work. With Bitcoin, nobody can touch it. It's entirely in your possession. You'll have a non-custodial wallet, and that is where you'll hold your Bitcoin, and nobody has access to that.
In order to fix these problems, we have to fix the money. That's what Bitcoin does, ladies and gentlemen. It just does. Each and every one of you are going to hear me different. You know, I got a guy named Jimmy Lacari. He hasn't bought any Bitcoin yet. I don't mean to call you out, Jimmy. I love you. But I make this video for guys like him and people that are, you know, in between me and Jimmy, that have a little bit but don't know anything, just buying it. People that are above me, people in between that. The main thing is to get off zero and then learn about it every single day. This is a technology. Forget about the name Bitcoin. Just forget about that. Forget about that. It is a digital technology that is for the people, by the people, and of the people. Just like the Constitution, it is ran by the people. The government cannot stop it. The reason why I'm not into these cryptocurrencies, and I know Bitcoin technically is a cryptocurrency, is because they're projects. They don't solve a problem. They're just waiting for this and waiting for that. Bitcoin has already solved the problem of long-term inflation. If you would have gotten into Bitcoin in 2010 and put $100 in, you'd be doing pretty well. So right now it's a savings technology for Americans, us very spoiled people. But for people around the world, less fortunate, the second and third world countries that don't have a bank, they need Bitcoin not only to, you know, they can save in, but they can also transact in because, you know, their currencies, again, because the US dollar is the best one in history, their dollars are dying every day. They just are. And they need Bitcoin. We don't need Bitcoin in the United States yet because, again, we're spoiled. We're going to need it in the short-term future within next 5 to 10 years. I do believe that. Right now, you just get some Bitcoin, get off zero, listen to Bitcoin University, get your education up, and the more and more you learn about it. I have guys on my channel. Now I have 6 guys on my channel. It used to be 4, now it's 6, that have got into Bitcoin basically because what I was saying. That's very humbling, by the way. They told me because of what I was saying. They have sold most of, if not all, their precious metals for Bitcoin. I'm not to that stage yet. I did sell all my gold, but I just love my vintage silver just for a hedge on inflation. It's a utility metal, and I'm just addicted to silver. And if the power goes out or something like that for a little bit, I got that insurance against Bitcoin. But Bitcoin is my #1, hands down. And I never thought I'd say that. I never thought I'd like something better than silver. But I like Bitcoin better than silver because it's duplicatable. Everybody around the world can buy Bitcoin just like that. I'm not saying people can't buy silver, but it's much more expensive to buy this kind of silver. You can buy, you know, quarters and dimes and stuff like that, small things and things like that. But I can't zap this stuff around the world. I'm not going to transact in it because nobody's going to take a 50-cent piece. And if they do, it's going to be for 50 cents. But Bitcoin right now, I can't even explain to you. You have to see it. And again, I'm going to make a video showing some visuals on the network and stuff like that. But guys, please get off of zero. And I'm going to talk about that more in the next video. But it's so important. Again, my channel is Jerry Loves Freedom. And I'm all about freedom for this country. And we got to fight against this tyranny. The only way to do that is through Bitcoin. I love each and every one of you. And I'll talk to you soon. Peace and love, guys.